Welcome to the Perfect Life Awakening Show, hosted by Royce Morales. Royce has been a transformational facilitator, teaching groundbreaking, spiritually based courses for more than 4 decades. She is the author of 3 books about her teachings. Join Royce as she takes you on a journey into how to live your best life and find your true purpose through discovering the origins of subconscious, disempowering notions and releasing them. She talks with experts and inspiring people just like you who learned to trust their intuitive inner wisdom, which led to life-changing shifts. Today, her guests live an empowered existence and are helping change the world to a higher consciousness place based on truth and love. You deserve to awaken to, align with, and embody your true self and live a life filled with love. Transform yourself from triggered to empowered and create your perfect life. Here is your host, Royce Morales.
Hello, welcome everyone. As always, I am so excited to have my guest today because she is amazing. I can't wait to hear her story. And before we even get into that, I just want to remind everybody that I'm doing a weekly Substack called Royce's Ramblings, and I would love it if you would follow me. And I have my website, Perfect Life Awakening, or it's actually easier to find it under roycemorales.com. And you can find out about all the things that I'm doing and have done and plan to do, etc. So check it out. So let me introduce you to Karoleen Fober. She has experienced more than, now get this, 450 divine interventions. I can't even imagine counting that. That's amazing. She's a former financial advisor. She's got the money, the number thing that's important to her. She knows because she has actually been tracking them on a daily basis, which I think is phenomenal. As I was reading about you, I thought, I wonder how many I've had. If I had counted them, that would be a really interesting statistic. So she also divides them into 15 categories, which I'm sure she's going to talk about today. And she does find that the more grateful she is to receiving this divine grace, she seems to attract more, which is definitely a universal law. And they always help her, they point to her highest good and allows her to guide others to being who they are and their highest good as well. Closer spiritual connection is what happens from all that. She's written a book, and it's called Opening to Divine Intervention. There it is, and she'll share about that too. And the subtitle is Expand and Strengthen Your Intuitive Abilities and Spiritual Connection. And it's a remarkable account of what she experienced in her own life. And I think, even though I haven't read it, I just know, based on what I've read about Karoleen, is that if you aren't a believer in divine intervention, you certainly will be after reading this book. So, welcome, Karoleen. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. It's great to join you today.
Yes. Well, before we even get into your experiences and what you do, I'd love to hear the story about how all of this happened. How did you go from a financial advisor to doing what you do? Tell us your story.
Well, and I love the title of your show with all the awakenings. And I think that everyone can relate. We've all had these pivotal moments, these awakenings, and they happen lots of different ways. And so I'll start in the beginning. I mean, when I was 8, I was in a playground, and one kid was talking about what they had done that weekend. And then he said, you know, what happened after that? And I just told him. And he looked at me like, how do you know that? And I was looking around at the, 5 or 6 kids, and they were all looking at me. And I realized in that moment that I was plugged in and they weren't. And as simple as that, I kind of went underground, but I kept having divine experiences that caught my attention, but life is busy, especially when you're young and lots to do. And so then in January 15th of 2000, 25 years ago, I went to a woman. They were having a group reading. She gets in front of me and she says, "You are going to write a book and it's going to be important for the world." And I'm taking notes and I'm going, and then everything stopped. I didn't hear anything after that. Thank goodness I'd written it down. Everybody was just quiet. And I was so perplexed. I didn't even think to ask her what it was about. So it took 17 years after that. I was frustrated because I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to be writing about. So I said, well, I, I, until that happens, I'm going to get busy and I'm going to start writing down all of my divine intervention experiences. And that's when I had, and I'm like you, I thought, oh, maybe I'll have 20. And then the next thing I knew, I had 50. And that was quite a few, I thought, enough for a book. And I said, I was sitting at my desk down in Florida and I'm going, I'm looking at my list and I begin to feel energy. And then I see a golden cord. It's like all these experiences are connected. And I said out loud, oh my God, this is the book, all about my divine intervention experiences.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was, a major awakening. That's how a lot of that happened. But I started coaching business owners almost 25 years ago. And I began to know that I just knew things. I was plugging into my own intuition and manifesting abilities. And then I taught them. So it's been something that I've had a fascination with, our divine energy system that our creator has given us to live in.
Yeah.
So those were some major awakenings that got me here. And then my mom died in 2012. And I was so devastated that, I just kind of went into despair. And so I relate to people that have lost loved ones. And many times that can be an awakening to your spiritual connections. And so I really, I encourage people to think through their own lives like that. And I was so exasperated and sad that I knew I wanted to talk to my mom. And so I asked God to send me a medium. And I almost went to Teresa Caputo out in Long Island. But she was 2 years booked. And I said,
Wow.
I don't have 2 years. I need it now. So my husband said, let's get you out of the house. Let's go to Staples. We need some things. And I met a friend who was having a kind of a Christmas ceremony at her church. She invited me and I went and I kept looking at this person like, we're connected. I don't know what's going on. But after the ceremony, I went up to her and I said, hi. I said, I'm Karoleen Fober. I said, I just feel like I'm supposed to talk to you. And she said, I feel the same way. And she said, what do you do? I said, well, I'm an intuition life and business life mastery coach. And I said, what do you do? And she says, I'm a medium. And immediately I just looked up and thanked God. And yeah, after my experience with her, at the end, she told me, well, you're just like me. And I said, I don't think so. I'm not sure I am. But I said, if I am, what would I do to expand my abilities? Because I knew I was very intuitive and understood manifesting, but I wasn't sure about the mediumship. And she just said, meditate. And that's what I did. And then I was told that I would be teaching people to connect spiritually.
Wow. What a great story. I'm sorry. I have to go back to right in the beginning when you talked about having that intuitive knowingness with that little 8-year-old boy.
Yeah.
I had things like that happen to me as well. And I learned I've got to suppress it, be normal,
Yeah,
don't let
everybody's
anybody know.
shocked.
Yeah. Is that what you did? Or how did you just kind of go through a normal childhood and not have that part of you running you?
Well, I'll also add that I was praying by the time I was two, probably by the time I was talking. My mom would pray with me. I was raised Methodist, and I was all in. I was asking questions. I was praying. I felt the presence. I grew up on a farm, and so I mean, you see things grow. I felt it. I didn't. I never felt alone. Um, so and I was connected to the animals and I felt like I could understand them as well. So it started early for me. And I've read that somewhere about the age of 6 to 8, kids are in school. It's not culturally supported a lot. So people put it on the back burner. And now they've got to learn math and learn how to read. I mean, you're learning a lot of systems. Well, this is our original system. This is the system we come in with. This is how we're designed. And science, thank goodness, is actually proving it.
Yeah.
So it's the old,
Finally.
yeah, finally. It's to me, it's the old frontier, and the science brings the new just to connect it. And I think
Yeah.
more and more people feel a little bit more comfortable. There's been some cultural taboos, but even in the Bible, I mean, Jesus was doing it. John 14 through 16, it's all about Jesus saying, everything I can do, so can you, even
Right.
more.
Yeah. I was
And
going
then
to ask
first,
you about
oh,
that.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, and then I was just going to give another Bible reference. 1 Corinthians chapter 12 is all about the spiritual gifts. And I mean, the prophecy, discernment of spirits, healing.
Yeah.
So we're all capable of doing that if we're interested. We need house builders, we need lots of different people, but there are those of us, if our heart, if we're called to do that, it says, I think in the verse 31, it says, if you're called to do that, do that with your pure loving desire. And then everybody knows First Corinthians chapter 13 is the love chapter, and people use it in their weddings. Well, the beautiful thing with having the spiritual gifts in the chapter 12, right before the love chapter, is it says all of these gifts, if they're not pure and used for love, then they mean nothing.
Hmm. Yeah. I was going to ask you about how that fits because I've had a lot of students arrive that were very staunch religious adherents, and many of them have had a hard time with the notion of trusting their intuition or even allowing communication from other realms to occur because they claim that it is anti-Christian, it's wrong. And I've had many discussions with people about that because I believe, as you do, that Jesus said, you can do it too. So
Yeah, he said that.
yeah, it's good to hear that it's right there in the Bible. I'm not a Bible student, but it's good to hear that it's right there. So
Yes.
thank
And,
you.
and the other thing to note is that, I mean, I've read the entire Bible. Only about 17% of the population has. So there's a lot of, they don't know. Um, but I've read it cover to cover and will continue to do so. And the key is, you know, there's talk of throwing the mediums out of the temple. Well, guess what? They were in the temple. Now that's a key right there. What were they doing in the temple? Well, they were given these special divine gifts, and they had the connection, the calling to do it. But guess who else was thrown out of the temple? The priests. And why were the people that were connected spiritually the most, why were they thrown out of the temple? It is because they did not give credit. If you read even Malachi, which is the last book in the Old Testament, it talks about how Malachi was warning the people. They had just rebuilt the temple, and they were all going, look what we did, look what we did, you know? And so it's truly about the connection of what is our source, who created this divine system, what created this divine system. And so it is our creator. And if we're not able to give gratitude and appreciation and credit, I think that's where people get a little lost.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, I've had experiences where psychics and mediums have their own stuff get in the way, or their intention isn't completely pure, or
Yes.
their ego is the one in charge. So there is that issue to look at as well. Sometimes it's not just pure spirit coming through.
Well, we are extrasensory beings. That's how God made us. He didn't just stop at the five senses. So we're fully capable. We have, a brain that's two-sided.
Yeah.
The left brain is our logical. It's the physical world.
Mm-hmm.
And then our right brain is the intuitive side, or connecting to the spiritual realm. And most people are walking around plugged in. Looks a little bit opposite, but I'll just say the left brain, they spend 95% in the left brain, and they should and only 5% in the intuitive, the spiritual connection
Yeah,
side.
if that.
Good point. And
Yeah.
see, Einstein talked about this. He knew all about it. He was like trying to balance it. And they did an autopsy on Einstein's brain, and they found they had never seen such a connective tissue that was balanced on both sides of the brain. And
Wow.
he was always talking about intuition. And he said intuition is the most important thing. Your left brain is simply the tool. And we're certainly going to use that tool, but it is not first. It's not the most important side.
Yeah. It's there to kind of interpret what your intuition is saying and what to do with it. So yeah.
Yes, and that's what's so exciting. That's, to me, the good news of the old frontier is, and if you think about, all the Bible stories, well, they were seeing angels, they were getting messages, get up now, don't wait till tomorrow for protection and guidance. The Bible is full of divine interventions and how they were helped, and so that's what the book is all about, is really connecting. And to your point earlier, I bet if you started, and all your listeners, I bet if they started writing some of these down, they'd be amazed how many times they have been helped in various ways.
Yeah. So tell us about that. How do you define a divine intervention? What does that mean to you? What does that look like?
Yes. Well, it's a spiritual happening. It's where a person gets messages that are very helpful, or an occurrence actually happens. And I've divided, I had so many that I needed to create some, types to kind of fit that in and kind of talk about it intelligently. So instead of saying everything's a miracle, which I do believe they really are, or a divine intervention, it's very helpful to say, I had a dream. I had a premonition. A premonition is daytime. A dream is when you're sleeping. And science knows all about all the different brain waves. And when, this is just a side note, but it's very exciting. Many of the top mediums out there, the more public mediums, they have, been tested while they do the readings. And famous doctors, Dr. Amen, another one that I can't think of right at the moment, but they're on YouTube, and they say, oh, the brain waves are highly unusual. And it's almost like when a person like me is getting those messages or doing a reading for someone, they've got it on record on these, scientific tests, that a person's brain is going asleep, awake over and over and over, and they don't usually see it. But everyone, we're all not being tested at any point, but we're we're all fully capable. We're all multisensory. We were created this way.
So you told us a couple of the categories that you put these things in.
Yeah.
What are I know that you say you've got several categories. Tell us a little bit more about those categories.
Yeah. Well, and I have 15, and there's probably more, but I thought 15's enough to keep track of. So, I mean, I talk about miracles, and then doing divine readings for others, and then doing them for yourself, which we're fully capable. And that's what I teach in all my programs. Um, and then uh, I like even to have maybe several categories because you might have a premonition and it might be a light or it might be a life changing premonition. So I'll put that in as a pivotal moment, divine pivotal moment. Some of these things are lessons for us to really get. So I call them divine lessons. Divine asking or praying, manifesting. Well, we're co-creating with the divine energy system that our creator created, so that is divine intervention. Okay. um, I talked about dreams and premonitions. We can have a direct divine communication where you hear something, you get a command, like it's you. If it's a command, it's usually trying to get your attention big, like maybe you're in danger. um, and then natural healings, right? It's our energetic body alignment. So we really need to pay attention to that. And we really are facing such a health crisis in this country. I mean, you know, just, and so it's, people are suffering. And so I do a lot of divine alignments. I teach that so people can understand that your body is a gift as well, a divine gift, and it's designed to heal. So it's fully capable of healing. So and then divine creations, like a song. Remember Dolly Parton? I think she's had over 6,000 songs. She said, "Oh, you just wake up and they come to her." Well, how does that happen, right? So everybody that I've ever talked to has had dreams where maybe a loved one has come through, or they've got a message in that dream, like it's, and many times it's symbolic, and it's like, what does this mean? And so it takes time to kind of figure out. But if you continue to stay open, they'll even send the meaning. So like when I'm doing a reading, I'll get like a quick maybe starter message. They start the gems, start the nuggets, start falling. And then at first I may not know exactly what it is, but I say, okay, I'm getting this. And then like a second later, the meaning of the download just comes. And so I teach people to be open to that and to do that. And then near death experiences. My mom had a near death experience, and so many people have. There's been, I mean, oodles of experiences and books written about that. Also, deathbed visions. I saw my dad having that before he died. And then, of course, mediumship. The discernment of the spirits and getting messages there, and then divine journaling. A lot of people don't like to journal, but it's so helpful. And so all my students and clients that start divine journaling, they go, wow. And I like to have a prompt. It's very helpful to say, is there an important message for me now? And then see what you write. Pay attention, because you're being guided. Everybody has at least one guardian angel, and then many angels. I call it a spiritual team. So can you imagine walking around knowing that you have a spiritual team that has your back and is working 24/7 overtime to help you, not to dictate, because we have free will. We can do whatever we choose, what we want to do. Um, but it's almost like streaming lots of helpful information, and then we get to choose what we do with that. And the natural phenomena, which one is one of my favorites. And the more I talk to people about natural phenomenon, at first they go, well, I don't know if I've ever had anything happen. And I said, well, you just don't know. I have one client right now, and her son died, in his 30s, and he leaves, feathers and heart-shaped rocks everywhere. Every time she goes out for a walk, it's there. And she's getting messages too. So um, there's just so many types of experiences. Now, I will say too that when messages come, they're going to come almost like the physical senses. So you might hear something. No one else will be able to hear it, usually, but you will. And you'll look around and go, just like now, when I was in the playground with that kid when I was 8, that was a pure knowing.
Mm-hmm.
So they come primarily in knowing. It feels
Yeah.
like you just know. How do I know that? Well, I don't know. Well, now we do. Second thing is the feeling. Lots of times it'll come in your body where you'll feel something. And I help my clients pick up on those senses, because if you're not used to doing it, you'll miss them. It's like getting on the bicycle the first time. Oh, you're scared you're going to fall off, right? So you probably will fall off. It's very wobbly. You don't feel comfortable. You may not even remember how you got from on the bike, because it's a little scary the first time. So it takes practice. It's like anything else. Um, a, a language, a communication system, um, it's intact. But if we let it go when we were maybe early on in our life and put it way on the back burner, we're going to have to, bring it back in to focus. So it's going to take a little time, a little bit of practice. But I've never had anybody not make amazing progress that was willing to work with it.
Yeah.
So that's just, very exciting to me.
So I have a question. It keeps coming into my brain, so I trust intuitively that I'm supposed to ask.
Yeah.
If somebody receives a really clear, pure, directive message to do something, and they do it, and it ends up being one problem after another, catastrophic, financially ruining, all kinds of things happen from this. And they say to themselves, well, that was stupid to trust that intuition. I'll never do that again. Or how could my intuition mislead me in that way? Or why would God allow all of these horrible things to happen from just trusting myself? What do you say to people that have gone through that type of experience?
Yes. And I do understand that. I mean, there's so many points on that. I will say this. First of all, we have all had terrible things happen to us. I don't know anyone that hasn't. Deaths, illnesses, job losses, relationships go awry. Lots of different things that have been hurtful, and we might have even suffered an accident. Okay. The other piece of this is I have a lot of people ask me questions about this very thing. They think, is it my fear creating this, or is this really for my good? And that is why you can do different tests. I use a pendulum. A pendulum is reading the divine energy system. And, tuning forks have been used thousands of years ago to find, water. So this isn't a woo thing. This is something that every farm in the United States was probably created from tuning forks and sensing the energetic connection of the earth, plus ores, gems. They still use tuning forks. Well, our body is a tuning fork. Imagine, we're getting electromagnetic impulses all the time. The other thing you can do is a system where you can test. Like, my name is Karoleen. I don't know if you can see that, but the thumb and the index finger are locked. And so if it's a true thing, my name is Karoleen, I can't get it out. If my name is Royce, it's going to come out right there, because your body doesn't lie, and the divine energy system doesn't lie. So there is a bit of discernment that you must, I think, do. But I also know that, and if people really look for the gifts, two pieces I want to talk about there. If people are looking for the gifts after something bad has happened, you will find them. Most people don't look. Most people are going to get stuck in how awful that was, and they will not move on. The other piece of that, there are times, maybe a bad boyfriend, right? And then you think you're just going to die over it. And the timing is not out of your control. It's not your controlling this. We're being gifted along the way. Now we can make things happen and co-create, but many times I've always gotten better if I would just admit it. Now I didn't enjoy that loss, but something better came for me eventually. So I do understand that. But I always tell people, like, let's say you're looking for clients and you think you really want this one client, seems so perfect, and it just doesn't work out. I always say, well, there's someone better for you, or it just means no, not now. No is just kind of not now. You may not be ready for something. You may have to learn a few lessons. Hello. But I also want to say this is the second, and it's a major point, because I think the biggest reason that people aren't getting messages and then aren't confident in what's coming, they don't know what to do with it, is that we have such a busy, chaotic, noisy life. People are not meditating. People tell me they don't even know how. And I say, well, just close your eyes and get quiet, and it's okay if you fall asleep and take a nap, you might need it. But they're afraid they're doing it wrong. We're such a society that do it this way. And I say, no, do it the way that it makes sense to you. If you have a little phrase, if you have a little music thing on your phone, I do, I'm cutting vegetables and I am just meditating and my eyes are open, but I am just very aligned. I'm just relaxed. So it's about relaxing instead of doing it right. You're not going to sit there in some crazy guru stance and in pain and try to sit there for 2 hours. No, lay down, sit in a comfortable chair. Shouldn't be difficult. But people need to get quiet because it gets centered. Guess what? Meditation and getting centered does. It gets rid of the chaos and the noise. And the most important thing it gets rid of, negativity.
Yeah.
And I tell people, I said, you're in charge. You have free will of what you're thinking about. And they go, well, Karoleen, you're so positive. I go, I take that as a compliment because I have trained myself and you will feel better. People get ill worrying all the time. And I used to worry too. I understand. But I learned, hey, I don't feel good. I don't look good. I mean, that doesn't look, I'd much rather be like this. And so we need to be more kid-like, come to me as a child, connect spiritually as a child. Like, this is going to be interesting. You don't have to be perfect. So I really think that we have to lighten up. I talk about living in the higher frequencies. Well, the higher frequencies simply means positive frequencies. If you have to be your own little police girl. If you're negative or worrying about something or talking how something did not work out and down here in the lower energy, as soon as you recognize it, you want to go up here. Go, wow, Karoleen said to be happy. Karoleen said to think good thoughts. It's so simple. People just don't do it. But I'm here to tell you, I have my clients. They're checking in on their energy frequency. And if they're negative, there's no judgment. We're human beings. I have bad moments, but I don't have them for very long. I'm like, okay, I don't care. And some of my favorite affirmations. One is all is well. All is well. 3 words that just lifts everything. I also walk around going, I even had a coach question me on this way back. I say, everything's working out for me. They go, now how can you say that? And I go, well, it's my life. And I'm having a connection with my spiritual team. I trust they're on it. I expect great things. That's a key. That's a big key.
So we need to take a bit of a break,
Okay.
and we'll be right back. And I'm going to ask you to talk about the 8 biggest intuitive mistakes that people make. And we'll be right back.
Great.
Om Times TV. Do you crave joy but feel stuck? Do you go through life feeling constantly triggered and frustrated? Fear is likely the culprit, and subconscious fear is likely sabotaging you. Perfect Life Awakening is a time-tested, spiritually based approach to inner transformation created by Royce Morales. For over 40 years, she has helped people get to the origins of subconscious fears and ultimately help them find their true purpose and a life full of joy. Sign up for Perfect Life Awakening today at roycemorales.com. You deserve to go from triggered to empowered, shifting your life with Perfect Life Awakening. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back. I am talking with Karoleen Fober, and we're talking about mastering, trusting, even allowing for your intuition. And she has written the 8 biggest intuitive mistakes that people make. If you could just kind of go over those really fast, but what I'd like you to really focus on is the third one that says ignoring it. That's probably the biggest mistake we can make, but just tell us the other ones really fast.
Well, people don't claim their intuition. They just don't. They say, oh yeah, Karoleen and Royce, they can, but I can't. So they don't claim it for themselves. That's like not having your computer plugged in, right? So if you're disallowing it,
good analogy,
yeah. And they might have, incorrect beliefs about the spiritual realm and how that works. And they think they know. Well, your experience is going to teach you if you're paying attention. And then you're going to get, divine messages. And then the third one is people ignore. They talk themselves right out of it. So, for example, they'll have an experience. And then they go, well, that was just a fluke. That didn't happen, did it? No.
Silly.
Right? Yeah, silly.
Made it up.
Made it up. And then a coincidence. And I say, well, a coincidence does come from the word coincide, which means to meet perfectly, which means we have given the wrong definition to the word coincidence. It's our slang. So it's happening. Don't just ignore it. And I talked earlier about not meditating and not getting quiet, because let me tell you, if you've got the TV blasting, if you're on your phone all day long, if you've got noise and maybe you're too busy, maybe you've got so much going on that you are actually running from one activity to another. They're throwing messages at you, and how are you going to get them? You really have to get quiet on some of this. After you know what's going on, then you can almost get them, just catch them as you're on the way driving somewhere. I mean, you can get a lot of messages once you get practice, but you have to practice and get going with it. And they're not willing to invest the time. They're not willing to practice. And it's like anything else, hey, it takes us 2 years to get that license to drive a car. And yes, that's important because we could hurt ourselves with it. But it takes us places. Well, imagine spending a little time getting clear on your messages and your ability to connect. I mean, that's priceless, life-saving even. They make it too difficult. It's like, well, was that my intuition or was that my imagination? And I say, do you think God was? There's going to be millions of ways it's coming. If you get a thought, that first thought, I would listen to it.
Yes.
Right? I would listen to it. And then they'll get the message. So they know what happened. They're thinking about it. They don't trust it.
Yeah.
And so it's going to take a while to trust as well. And this is the big one, number 8. This is what I help people do. This is how I help people double their income, work less, create everything they want, is how to leverage this ability, your intuition and manifesting connection. And that's where it gets really fun and interesting. And those are all the bonuses.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the one about ignoring it, tell us, maybe even give some personal experiences of what happens from ignoring it or why we ignore it.
Yeah. Well, the biggest example for me when I ignored my intuition was years ago, I was driving to a meeting in Iowa, and it was, I think, November. So we had just had some snow, and I saw a car ahead, and I couldn't tell how fast he was going because there was a building in front of it, but I saw him coming. I heard, this car is going to hit you. Mm-hmm. Well, I just ignored it. I said, oh, I don't think that car is going to hit me. I don't want to slow down because he has to stop at the stop sign. On and on and on. And then, boom, I got hit. And that was not fun. And I went, black, and I felt the turning. And I was actually helped by my maternal side of an angel, because I should have landed in the field, in the cornfield, basically. But I was, the car was in good shape. I had my seatbelt on. And so I learned right then and there, I'm going to start listening. And I have always listened. Now, it may mean you don't always understand. That's why then you have to do a couple extra things to really connect and to start deciphering what some of these messages mean. But, the danger ones, they'll say, stop. You'll hear, I've talked to lots of people that it's like, don't go today.
Yeah. I find it's interesting because I find, at least for me, the most powerful way that I've learned to listen and to trust is by not listening, because I see what happens when I don't. It takes a pie in the face sometimes for me to get it. But yeah, I could tell you a zillion times that I chose not to listen, and it's like, okay, told you so. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, it's a matter of trusting, and people, you have to surrender. You are not in control of everything. And I had one gal that she was arguing with me about that. And finally, I just said, okay, who's in charge of your breathing? And she said, I am. And I said, bingo. I said, no, you're really not in charge of your breathing. I said, if you were in charge of your breathing, you'd have to wake up 1,000 times in the middle of the night and say, breathe now.
Yeah.
She never put that together. I said, wow. Every system in our body, every system, think of all the plants. Divinely created. We're not in charge of this.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your 5-step ACUTE system for spiritual communication. I know you read about that. So what is that about?
Yes. Well, and I was told, I was beginning to start teaching people about this. And so I was writing down, trying to make it simple. And so I'd written down these 5 things. And as I looked down at each one, they spelled the acute word. And I knew that was divinely given to me. I felt the body tingles. So, many times, I call it the Holy Spirit tingles, but a body tingle for me and many people is a message is coming in.
Yeah.
And then you also can get those when a message has been delivered. So after I'm working with somebody, they give me that. The electromagnetic tingles. It feels fantastic. So the first one is accept. We've gone over this a little bit, but you must accept that this is how it is. You are not going to change this divine energy system. Trust me. So it's a good idea to learn the rules and follow them. And claim it for yourself. We talked about that. That's the C. And then U is utilize it. That's where my programs, my book, the coaching comes in. There's so many tips, so many strategies, so many techniques that you can really quickly reconnect and expand and strengthen your own abilities. And I love teaching it. And then the 4th step is T for trust. It's like, yeah, you have to give it up. You have to go, all right, this is your system. What do you got for me? I mean, I'm talking to my spiritual team all day long. And then E is to really enjoy it. That is, again, the higher frequency living. You want to be enjoying every moment because we are people magnets. We're made up of electromagnetic energy. Okay, this is science too. We are creating our next moment. So if we're going, I don't like this, I don't like that, I'm scared of this, I don't like that person, this is why, and here's the thesis. I mean, when I work with a client and they start the call out with a thesis for why they didn't get their homework done, why nothing happened, I just go, I give them 2 minutes. I get the timer out. And I say, you've got 2 minutes. And you can say anything you want. And see how light I am about it? I like, oh, if you want to do that, go ahead. But I'm timing you. And then they realize, oh, that's stupid. I'm not going to do that. Right. Because it's you have to understand that this is your life. This is your time. This is your body. You are choosing everything it goes. And if you live in the higher frequencies, things will go much better for you. So enjoy this. It's a gift, right? Really respect and appreciate it and enjoy it. And I want to say one extra thing because people say, okay, now that I learn it, what can I do with it? Because we talked about leveraging before. I was given a divine reading with a description of my husband. We found our dream house. Gary had this, my husband had the premonition twice on his way home from work. The title of my book, the cover of my book, I used the divine intervention system. I used the divine energetic, beautiful system to help me because why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we use the most powerful? It's a 24/7 spiritual team. I mean, people are paying people thousands of dollars for all these team members, and I'm like, this is free, people, and you're going to get the best help. And when you start learning how to receive it after you've activated, it's just very doable. So I wanted to give these examples of what can we do with it. I mean, I have people helping people find the love of their life. One of my friends, actually, I told her, on your 61st birthday, you're going to meet probably the guy that's for you. She meets this guy, and she's so overcome by it that she just almost runs away from the guy. But she called me and told me, she was, you're not going to believe what happened. And I said, at this point, I believe everything because, I mean, it's miracle after miracle, unless we don't follow it. And she said, my God, now she's trying to find him. So it's those kinds of things, but people need a little bit of help. And I think that I think everybody deserves to spend a little time. I mean, we're buying clothes, we're buying new cars. Why wouldn't we spend a little time and a little money and learn about this? Right? It's why not? Why wouldn't I? That's my question. I said in the book, why wouldn't we be doing this?
Yeah, it's better than AI.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
don't get me started.
yeah. And I don't know if we have time, but I do have a couple tips for people.
Okay.
If your
Yeah, we've got a couple more
listeners,
minutes.
okay, if your listeners would like that, I have people that basically deny that there's an energetic system and all that. I say, put your hands together and rub them. Everybody do it with me if you're listening. Okay, now pull them apart just a little bit. And then do this back and forth. You can feel our divine electromagnetic energy system. Kids can feel this. Everybody feels it. So that's the real deal. We're living in this, and it's working for us quite well. And then start praying and meditating. Those two things. If you do those, it will quiet everything down, so you can receive these messages.
Yes. So show us your book and tell us about your book and what else you offer people.
I'd love for you to read my book. I've had over 450 divine intervention experiences, and I put over 80 in the book.
Oh,
The
wow.
big ones, the little ones. Even my editor, she said, this is the most, she just loved it because she said, you have really made it accessible. So, and the title was given to me divinely, everything. So Opening to Divine Intervention, get that on Amazon. And go to my website, KaroleenFober.com. There is a intuition assessment. And I also will tell you that if you go on my website and complete the intuition assessment, I will send you the PDF of the 8 biggest mistakes that people make, so you can actually have that for yourself. And I also do a free discovery call if somebody is really thinking, these sound interesting. I want to talk to you about something. I also do divine readings. And you can schedule that on the website as well. And then, of course, I do the coaching. But for that, we're going to need a discovery call because I need to know, a little bit more about you, and you want to know a little bit more about the programs and that kind of thing. So we want to see which one might be the best fit for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm on Facebook too. So
Yes. So if there's one final bit of intuitive guidance that you can throw out there to our amazing audience, what would it be?
just remember that you are a spiritual being. You are multisensory. You have full access to the most beautiful help, guidance, and love. And connect.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to connect with me. It'd be great.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Karoleen. This was wonderful. Everyone out there deserves to connect to their highest consciousness and divine intervention, whatever you want to call it. It's all there. It's all available for us. We all deserve it. So thank you so much. Keep up the good work. And I will see everybody next week. And remember to follow me on Royce's Ramblings and check out what I'm doing on my website. And you're all amazing out there. Thank you.
Thank you so much.